a cold morning near Kitty Hawk, the wind came in sideways, sharp enough to sting exposed skin and bend the dune grass flat. The locals remembered that wind. They said it was the kind that carried voices farther than it should, the kind that made distances lie. In an 1899 county ledger, misfiled under livestock tallies and fence disputes, there is a single handwritten entry that does not belong. It was written by Elijah Cooper, a ferry operator and part-time clerk, a man known for precision and restraint. Cooper was not a dreamer. He recorded facts, dates, names, measurements. That is why his statement has endured. He wrote that on December 14th, while assisting two Ohio brothers with an experimental flying machine, he observed something that removed itself from ordinary air. The Wright brothers had been testing gliders for years. Everyone in the area knew them. Quiet men! Focused, polite, obsessive. Their machine that day lifted cleanly from the sand, wobbling but stable. Cooper timed it by pocket watch. Then mid-flight it vanished. Not fell, not crashed. Vanished. Cooper described a sudden thinning of the air, like heat shimmer without heat. The craft blurred, as if drawn through a slit too narrow for the eye to follow. For 3 full seconds, there was nothing where the machine had been. Then it returned. The glider reappeared 20 yards ahead of where it should have been, dropping hard into the sand. The brothers ran to it. Cooper followed, shaking. He noted that the machine was intact. Mostly, the struts were darker, as though exposed to heat but not burned. The fabric carried a faint odor Cooper described as ozone and iron. More disturbing were the alterations. A joint re-angled by a fraction of an inch. A wire rerouted through a hole that had not existed before. The changes were subtle, intentional. Wilbur Wright said nothing. Orville stared at the machine for a long time, then took out a notebook and copied the altered measurements without comment. Cooper asked what had happened. Wilbur replied, "We were briefly somewhere else." That sentence appears exactly once in the ledger, underlined twice. The brothers packed up early that day. They told no one about the incident. History records their first successful powered flight 4 years later, as if nothing unusual had preceded it. But Cooper's account suggests otherwise. The altered measurements appear again in later Wright designs. The control surfaces become more responsive. Stability improves. Efficiency increases. The brothers never explained the sudden leap in their understanding. Cooper wrote one final line before returning the ledger to storage. He stated that when the machine reappeared, its shadow returned a moment too late. The ledger was boxed during a courthouse renovation in the 1930s, mislabeled, forgotten. It surfaced decades later, dismissed as a clerical curiosity. No one followed up. No one asked why a practical man would invent such a thing. But locals still tell a quieter version of the story. They say that on certain mornings when the wind comes in sharp and sideways, shadows near the dunes hesitate. They say the air feels thinner, as if remembering a mistake. And somewhere in the distance, if you listen carefully, you can almost hear fabric snapping in a wind that doesn't quite belong to this world, because sometimes the invention that changes history isn't the one that teaches us how to fly. It's the one that briefly shows us where flight might take us, and brings us back just altered enough to never speak of it again.